Morning.
Good morning.
Oh, cool. So, yeah, I can see a few people on here. Oh, Janie Pops.
Hello.
Oh, so good to see you. Curtis will be stoked that you're here.
It's so good to see you too, Tiffy.
He's coming on in a minute. So,
Great.
Curtis is not very into technology, so we'll just wait. Otherwise, he'll call me on Messenger if he's having issues.
Okay.
I'm so excited.
Me too.
It's going to be great. So, yeah, you can hear me fine. Like, there's no issues and you can see me all right?
Yep.
Curtis! He might be just figuring it out. Curtis, give us a thumbs up if you can hear me. Yeah. Can you just say hello, Curtis, just so I know we can hear you?
Hello, this is Curtis.
Awesome. Jane's here. Janie Pops.
Hey, Jane.
Hey, Curtis. How you going?
Yeah, good. How are you?
Yeah, pretty good, thanks. What's happening in North Carolina?
Oh, just trying to work and save some money.
Yep.
You
You
know?
found a job?
Yeah, I've got a job as a captain on this fishing boat here.
Oh,
So
congrats.
just been busy getting the boat ready for the season.
Yep. Awesome.
Yeah,
Waiting
what's going
for
on with you?
I'm busy job hunting. Been job hunting for a while, so hopefully something pops up in the next week.
Well, I wouldn't take it personal. I don't think you're the only one.
Yeah, exactly. That's right.
What tips?
Yeah.
It's not my unique selling point right now.
Yeah.
Help me.
So where are you at right now?
I'm at home. I've just woke up.
In Melbourne.
Yeah, where are you at? Are you in Brisbane or
No,
where?
look at it's cold Melbourne.
Oh yeah, I hate the cold.
Yeah.
I think after all this, we should all go back to Maui. How's that
Yeah.
sound?
Sure.
Thumbs up,
Yeah,
definitely.
we'll all sneak in the hot tub at the hostel.
Hell yeah. That's a great plan. After going to EO National Park. IO?
Yeah, EO.
Yo, Valley.
Yeah,
Yeah. After going to the valley.
yeah, gotta go back in the valley and find our peace again. Find some
That's right.
serenity.
Exactly. So is this the
Yeah.
first time you've done a surf chat?
Yeah, first time.
Oh
Fucking
wow.
First time zooming.
Put that on the CV today.
Yeah. It'll go well though. It's
Yeah.
it's good to share,
Sorry.
you know, what I've experienced and
Yeah.
you know, I think
So we're just
people
just
can take
waiting.
away
We're just waiting for a
and
few
hopefully learn from it.
Yep.
we're just waiting for a few people to pop on. We'll just wait a couple more minutes, guys, and then we'll get started because Zoom only allows us to be on here for probably about 30 more minutes and then it cuts out.
Mm.
Hey guys, I can see some kids on here. So what I'll get you to do, if you know where to press mute, I'll get everyone to mute your microphones and Curtis and I will just stay on the chat. And then if you have particular questions, just raise your hand because I can see you all on video. And then I'll unmute you, or you can unmute yourself and you can pop on to ask any questions. So we'll just wait for probably 2 more minutes. Well, maybe we should get started. Oh, Sam Tucker, are you on here? Oh, but Sam, g'day Sam, I can see you now. Karina's on here. Kirsten, oh wow, okay, there's quite a few people. All right, awesome. So we'll get started, guys. So thank you so much for coming today. So as most of you know, I'm Tiff. I am the founder of the Wellbeing Movement, and the Wellbeing Movement is all about inspiring health and wellness, and inspiring people to follow their dreams, whether that be health or even in relation to career and life in general and adventure. And Curtis is my partner. So we met in Bali last year, and when I met Curtis in Bali, it came up in conversation that he lives in Maui in Hawaii, and he lives 5 miles from Jaws. So if you've heard of the surf break Jaws, it's a pretty gnarly surf break for big wave surfers. Curtis will tell us a bit more about it, but I'm pretty sure it has to be about 20 foot before it even breaks. And yeah, Curtis has some really awesome stories about big wave surfing, and a lot of people have asked me questions about it, and I know he loves to talk about it, so I thought I'd bring him on here today. So thanks so much for joining us, guys. And like I said, if you have a question, you can either write it in the Zoom group chat, or I can see most of your screen, so even if you give me a wave, probably easier if you can access the group chat to write it in there, because I can keep an eye on that too. All right, so I'll introduce Curtis Snyder. Thank you for coming today.
Yeah. Hey, everybody. I'm Curtis. I'm here to answer all of your questions about big wave surfing.
So I'll start off with a question to get this ball rolling, Curtis. So when did you start wanting to surf big waves, and why, and what inspired you to do this?
So it all started to this island in the Caribbean called Puerto Rico. And I took a surf trip there with a couple of friends. I guess that must have been my second year in college. I guess what you Aussies would call uni. But yeah, we went not even looking for big waves. That wasn't even a mission of ours. But luck be have it, we lucked into a big swell. And I was down there kind of unprepared. The biggest board I had was like a 6'6". So everywhere we checked was pretty much maxed out because the swell was too big. So we drove to this renowned big wave spot called Tres Palmas. And we got there, and it was big, but kind of in the smaller range for a big wave spot. I'd call it 15 foot plus. And the biggest board I had was a 6'6", like I said. So we got there, and it was the only break that was really manageable. So, and this is the biggest surf I had ever seen coming from North Carolina, where I grew up, which is on the East Coast of America. And big day here is like 6 to 8 foot. So, we rolled up to this Tres Palmas, and it was at least double that. So I looked at my friends, and it was the most beautiful waves I've ever seen. Big blue, beautiful walls. So I looked at my friends, and I was like, I probably don't have the right board, but I'm going out. Like, you guys can join me if you want. But it's beautiful, and so I'm going for it. And my friends looked at me like I was nuts, and they were like, "Nah, man, like, you're on your own. We're not going with you." So I was like, "All right, so be it." So I grabbed my 6'6" and paddled out. And everybody else I saw were on bigger boards, like in the 8 to 10 foot big wave gun range. And but I had what I had, so I paddled out and sat in the channel for a while, just watching it for probably 20 minutes, just looking at it like wondering if it was even possible for me to catch one of these waves on the size of board that I had. So I watched it for a while, and I was like, well, Curtis, like, you're out here, you've traveled all this way, so I know your board's a little small, but you're gonna give it a go, man. So I paddled over, not quite to the peak. I was kind of on the shoulder for the first couple waves, and I caught two waves, kind of on the shoulder, but it made me feel more comfortable, and so I was like, all right, I can do this. Even though my board's a little small, I think I can do this. So I ended up catching 2 more waves. I caught 4 waves in the whole session, but my last wave, I was definitely like, I worked my way in close to the peak of the wave, and yeah, I caught a good one. And on a 6-6, I kind of shoulder hopped, kind of went to the side, but I made it and didn't have any wipeouts, and yeah, felt great. And I just remember when I kicked out, especially my last wave, I was like, that was like the best feeling I'd ever had in my life. It was like Mach 10, like all my nerves were going wild, and I just felt the most alive. So I came in.
I feel like, Curtis, were you like shaking, or like was your heart racing? Like, what did that, how did you handle that much adrenaline? Like,
oh yeah, I was scared out of my mind. I couldn't even think. I was just overcome by emotion, and it was like a high that I had never experienced before. So I came in from catching my waves, and my friends met me at the beach, and they're like, oh man, saw you get a couple good ones, we're just glad you didn't die. So I was like, all right, well, I didn't die, I'm good. So that was my first taste of a big wave spot.
yeah.
It was on, I'd say, a smaller day for that spot. And that's like looked at as a training ground for other big waves in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So I did what I could with the board I had, but I left feeling pretty satisfied with what I had done, and I felt good. So after that, the swell dropped. We went home back to North Carolina, and back to 4 to 5 foot wave. So it wasn't for another year that I got another chance. So I was living in North Carolina, and if you know anything about the East Coast of America, it's known for smaller waves. Like I said, our big days are 6 to 8 foot. So nothing really to train big wave skills on. But after that first session at Tres Palmas in Puerto Rico, that feeling, I couldn't get over the feeling, and it kind of stuck with me for a long time. And I didn't really get to act on it for about a year, like I was saying. So I was living in North Carolina, surfing small waves, and then in the winter here, it gets really cold, and the waves actually get kind of smaller. But I kept seeing all these news stories pop up about these big waves over on the West Coast in California. So I kept seeing all these pictures, and knowing that I had surfed big waves in the Caribbean with a smaller board than you're actually supposed to, I kind of felt like I could do it. Like I felt confident in my skills. So yeah, I thought I had a poster on my wall of Nathan Fletcher, like dropping in on this huge wave at Mavericks, which is in
that
Northern
a big wave
California.
surfer? Famous
Yeah,
big wave.
and it's in Northern California. It's one of the most world-renowned big waves in the world. But yeah, I was sitting in North Carolina. The waves were flat and cold, and I just saw all these stories of pumping waves in California, and you know, I still had that feeling, like you know, I had that burning feeling from my first experience in Puerto Rico. So I looked for a swell that I thought would be kind of the size I was looking for. You know, not too big because I didn't want to be out of my league, but not too small because I did want to push myself to prove to myself that I could do it, you know. So I started tracking swells in California, and the whole time I was telling friends and my family what I was planning, you know, like I want to fly across the country to this world-renowned big wave spot, and I want to face head on with one of the biggest waves in the world. And when I told people that here, they didn't accept it. You know, they thought I was crazy. They told me East Coast guys don't surf Mavericks. You know, you're out of your mind, man. You're out of your league. But I don't know. You know, sometimes you just gotta trust yourself and you know what it is that is your dream, and you know, sometimes you just got to go for it. You know, you got to pursue your dream. So I pushed what everybody else was saying aside, and I had a friend that had just gotten a job in Santa Cruz, which is about a half an hour away from Mavericks. So I knew I had a place to stay. So I was tracking swell, saw the perfect swell, probably in about, you know, the 20 to 25 foot range. You know, Mavericks gets a lot bigger. It gets in the 45, 50 foot range and plus on even the biggest swells. So, I saw a swell that I felt like inside I could handle pop up. So I got my money, booked my ticket, and I took a red line across the country over to Mavericks. Stayed in Santa Cruz. My buddy picked me up. I went over there without a board. I just went to a surf shop, bought a board that I thought was the right size for me, and he drove me up to Mavericks the next day. And got there, and it was every bit of 20 to 25 foot. And to say I wasn't nervous or scared would be lying. But yeah, I suited up and I paddled out.
Did you wear a vest this time?
What's that?
Did you wear a vest on that day?
No, I did not. My first really big wave experience, I did not wear a vest, which I don't recommend to everybody watching. If you're going to get into this sport, you want to take time, get the right equipment, get your safety dialed, make sure you're ready for Mother Ocean, because it can be a very strong force. So make sure you're ready if you're gonna pursue this sport. But the first time I did it, I was a young man, kind of running off of adrenaline and testosterone and probably a little out of my league. But, I said I flew across the country, got aboard, went to Mavericks, paddled out, sat there and watched it for about 20 minutes. And, again, thinking, what the hell have I done? Like, I flew across the country and now I feel out of my league. Like, this is stupid. But, I looked at it and I was like, you know what? You put too much money and time into this. So just go over and try to catch one wave. So I paddled over to the peak and with big waves, there's a lot of current, and even though you don't see it, there's going to be current that's going to be pulling you away from the main peak of the wave. So it's good to have landmarks and stuff to be able to line yourself up, to know where the wave is going to come in. Because most big waves do break in one spot. There's certain spots like Porto Escondido or, other beach breaks that will kind of break all over, or even Nazaré in Portugal, that they'll break all over and be spread out. But Mavericks is known to break in one spot where the reef is shallower than the rest of the reef. So it's going to break in the same spot every time. So I paddled over there, but the current caught me and I didn't even know it. And I got sucked over to the left, and I initially got caught inside on two waves, which to this day is one of the scariest situations I've ever been in the ocean. I was caught inside on two waves on the left at Mavericks, and without catching a wave. And I got through it. I was pretty tired, had to compose myself, paddle back over.
How long would you have stayed down for, Curtis, under those waves?
Probably like 10 seconds. It wasn't as bad as I had thought it was going to be. I think I got lucky. But, I paddled back to the channel, regrouped myself, and then I ended up composing myself, and I did end up catching 3 waves in that session. So I went home pretty happy about that. They were not the biggest set waves that came in that day. But when you're going to pursue big waves, it's important to know your limits and work your way up from those limits. You're not just going to go from 6-foot beach break and paddle right into 50-foot waves of Jaws. If you do, you're putting a bullet in the chamber and sticking the gun to your head, because it's just a matter of time before you get in some serious trouble. And let's face it, it could be deadly.
And you've seen that a lot at Jaws. And I was going to ask you, because most people have heard of Jaws. So what about your experience when you first surfed Jaws? Like, was this a dream of yours for a while since you started the big wave surfing, or tell us.
Yeah, so honestly, I would see pictures and videos of Jaws, and I honestly told myself, like, what are you doing, man? Like, that's out of your league, But I was lucky. I joined the Coast Guard, the U.S. Coast Guard, and eventually I got stationed on the island of Maui in Hawaii. And So I was stationed there for 4 years in the Coast Guard, but I was living about 3 miles away from Jaws, which is probably the best big wave in the world. And so call it fate, you know, I don't know, call it what you will, but I at Surf Trace Palmas, I gained some confidence out at Mavericks, and now I have been luck of the draw. I am living 3 miles away from the best big wave in the world. So, but for a time being, when I moved there, I still felt like it was like Jaws, like another league, you know, like that's out of my league. It's one of the biggest, most powerful waves in the world. Like, who are you kidding yourself? You're a guy that grew up in North Carolina, you know, and like you have no right, or you know, you shouldn't be out at the best big wave in the world.
I'm just giving
So
you a time update. We've probably got about between 7 and 10 minutes before it'll kind of cut out. Yeah, sorry.
Okay, cool. So anyways, I worked my way up, and I ended up surfing Jaws. I ended up dedicating my life to it for about 6 years. You know, I trained for it. I got all the equipment dialed.
In regards to training, what were you doing, Curtis?
A lot of cardio and a lot of breath holding.
Swimming and running, hey? Is that right? You were doing?
Yeah, so swimming, bike riding, and running. I would even go on top of the volcano on Maui and train at elevation. But yeah, if anybody's looking to get into this sport of riding big waves, I would recommend cardio. So running, riding your bike, a lot of swimming, but along with all that, a lot of breath holding. So while you're taking part in the cardio, hold your breath. You know, it'll be a lot harder than you think. If anybody's looking to get into it, that is how I trained. So that's how I would recommend you training. And I would recommend, before you pursue really big waves, I would get to a point where you have a static breath hold, which means holding your breath in the pool for at least 3 minutes.
And how long could you
work up from that? But
how long could you hold
3
yours?
minutes being the minimum. Yeah. What's that?
How long could you hold yours before you went out at Jaws? Was it 4 minutes?
Yeah, I got a breath hold of 4 minutes 20 seconds.
And back to Jaws, because you also had access to big waves in Hawaii too, like in the meantime while you were preparing for Jaws.
Yeah.
And so when you first, what was your first experience out at Jaws?
Honestly, the first 2 times I was out at Jaws, I didn't even catch a wave. I just paddled out and sat at the channel, watched the wave, kind of got lineups on shore. Because when you're approaching the biggest waves in the world, I mean, you want to be smart about it. You know, you don't want to be gung-ho, paddle right to the peak. And then, you know, like I said, there's currents that you don't even see that are pulling you away from the peak or into the impact zone. So it's better to study it first before you just get out there and go gung-ho. So my first couple times, I just jumped off the rocks at Jaws, which which is a challenge in itself. Jaws is known to have some of the heaviest shore break in the world. I mean, I'm talking 10 to 12 foot. For the Aussies that are tuned in, like 3 to 4 meters right on big rocks and boulders. So, you know, you got to time it, and then you get out to the wave. But yeah, first couple times I didn't even catch a wave. And third time was on an El Nino swell, which was in 2016, probably the best winter that we had in Hawaii. I mean, I've talked to people, they said in the last 50 years. So that is when I caught the biggest wave of my life. Was on what locals were saying was a pumping day at Jaws. I stroked in, I caught a wave that was, I would call 35, maybe 40 foot.
So how big would we call that?
What's that?
Like
10
20,
to,
25?
I don't know, like 10 to 15 meters.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm an American. I don't know all the all the conversions, but yeah. If Tiffany agrees, 10 to 15 meters.
I don't know. The boys will know. We'll ask. We're going to get Gary on here in a minute because Gary's.
I have a picture of it. Here, right here. That's the biggest wave I've ever caught. Right there.
You.
Gary, can you unmute yourself for a minute?
There you go. It's my.
So Curtis, can you see Gary cursor on the screen?
G'day, Curtis.
Yeah. Hey.
How you going? Good.
So Gary's a big wave surfer from back in the day. Hey, Gary.
A long time ago. My big wave surfing's over now. But I'm a bit like you, Curtis. Was unprepared for it, but I travelled the world big wave surfing back in 84, 85, 86, that sort of era. And one of the breaks that I loved was Mavericks, when nobody knew Mavericks existed. I had a good mate called Little John. I used to travel on the extreme sports circuit, and he lived at Half Moon Bay, and so I was told about this break, and went up there and surfed with the locals. Back in the day, where if you even dared to pull a camera out, you'd be killed. So it was good old days. That's right. And nobody had ever heard of it back then in the 80s, and except for the locals. And so I was privileged to get to surf a few spots like that. I never surfed Jaws, but I've spent many years in Hawaii surfing, and have a lot of good friends over there I used to surf with, and some of them still with us, some of them not. Some of them have been lost to big waves. A good mate of mine, who you probably know, Ace Cool, who passed away a few years ago, or he disappeared off Waimea. But yeah,
I've never heard of Ace, but yeah, I've had a few friends that passed, and yeah, it's unfortunately it's part of the game, you know. It's the big waves, best big waves in the world. You're risking your life, but I think you'll attest, and you'll agree with me, that say there's not a feeling like it in the world.
No, it's there's not. And like I saw a question from, I think it's Sam, about feeling calm when you're held down. I mean, in that size wave, as you would know, you've got to calm yourself down. If you're not calm when you're wiping out on those size waves, you're in trouble. So it's part of the technique that we all learn in big wave surfing, as to how to stay calm, because it's scary, and the adrenaline's pumping. But once you're down, you've got to calm yourself down. Otherwise, you're in big trouble.
Yeah, Curtis, actually, that's a good idea, because Sam does have that question. And I remember I've asked you that question before, about what do you think about when you're held under? And you were saying that, you were giving me that, you were telling me about the envisioning thing that you do, and how, I think, I'm pretty sure it was you, and you were saying how you envision like a step-by-step, I don't know, like making a sandwich or something, like, and you'll envision it while you're under the water. Is that right?
Yeah, you know, you really gotta get yourself to more peaceful times in your life. You know, and just get your mind there. For me, you know, it comes back to more of my diving. When the waves are small, I do a lot of diving, so I spearfish a lot. So when I'm held under, I just think of hunts I've had in the ocean where I'm following a fish, and then I have to like go under this rock, go back into this cave, you know, and hold my breath while I'm following this fish. So the whole time I'm kind of just thinking about every motion, every thought I had during that hunt. But I've also, you know, this might sound weird, but one time getting held under, my mind went to thinking of sitting on a porch with my grandmother, having cheese and crackers and wine. But I thought about every moment, and you know, here's the block of cheese. You cut the piece of cheese, you put it on the cracker, you eat the cracker. Oh, like what does it taste like? How does your environment feel? What's your grandma saying? What's she look like? You know, how are you relating to her? Just anything to take your mind off of what's really happening in the moment, because what you're trying to avoid is to panic, because as soon as you start panicking, as soon as your mind starts to panic, you lose all control, and with it you lose oxygen. So when you're losing oxygen, the potential to drown is definitely there. So you just want to calm yourself down, tune back into your training, you know, calm your mind, find your happy place, your peaceful place, and just think about that. Just get your mind off of the hectic situation that you're in.
Curtis, I wanted to ask a question as well. That story that you told me about when you were at Jaws, and you just had that gut feeling. Remember that one?
Yeah, that was.
Can you tell us that one? Because Zoom actually sent me a message saying that we can stay on longer. So if anyone wants to stay on and listen to this, like, you know, gut instinct is real. Like I've said this before on some of my posts with the wellbeing movement, like there is a nerve that runs from the brain right into our gut, and we're constantly communicating between the two and sending messages. So that gut instinct and gut feeling that you can get, it really is real, like it's science. And yeah, Curtis will tell a story now about some gut feelings that he's had that have saved him in the surf.
Yeah, so this is one of the biggest days to hit Hawaii in what they were saying was 30 years. It was during El Nino a few years ago, back in 2016, and it was big day of Jaws. I mean, you know, there were a group of paddlers out, but there were also tow surfers out, just to give you measure of how big it was. Actually, you know, before the situation Tiffany is touching on, I actually paddled over a wave that Kai Linney, I'm sure everybody's heard of Kai. He's one of the best big wave surfers in the world now. But he actually towed into a wave that I paddled over, and I was literally 10 feet away from him when he was dropping in on this wave that I would call, I mean, it had to be 60 to 70 foot on the face. So it was a big day. So I'm there in the lineup. You know, like thinking of all my training, all of my big wave experience has kind of come to this day. I'm like, this is the best big clean surf that you've ever been in, than people in Hawaii were saying in 30 years. And with my training and everything, I felt like I had worked up to this point. So, I felt as ready as I ever could be for it. But I'm I'm sitting close to the peak with about 15 other guys. And, there's kind of a lull in the sets. And if you're a big wave surfer, when there's really big waves, it's long period swell. So there can be long periods between the sets. So I'm talking, sometimes 10 minutes, sometimes 30 minutes in between sets on really big waves. So you're sitting there the whole time. You could get out of position. And then the set comes and you're out of position. But which in the situation Tiff is talking about is exactly what happened. It was a big day, but there was a long lull in between the sets. It had been about 25 minutes before, since the last big set. So all the paddlers were sitting there thinking we're in position. And, I'm sitting there, I'm thinking to myself, like, man, it's been a long time since a big set of waves came in. And then I got this overwhelming feeling of, look, man, like something's coming and you need to get out of here. It was a feeling that I've never felt in the ocean, and it was just unnatural. It hit me, and it hit me strong, and there was no way that I could look past it. There's no way that I could be like, nah, and push it away. So I took action and I started paddling towards the left at Jaws, which if you've ever been to Jaws, is kind of a no-go zone, especially when it's big, because there's rocks over there, and it tends to swing more towards the channel on the left than it does the right. When you're on the right, it kind of breaks in the same spot, but the left, it does swing over a little bit, and you can get caught out of position. So I enacted on that feeling that I had, and I started paddling towards the left and paddling out. And when I started to do it, I looked out, and sure enough, the horizon went black and the set of the day came in. And turns out I started paddling before everybody else, and I got to the very edge of the first wave and ended up making it around it, and pretty much everybody else got caught inside on this wave.
And how many people were out there, Curtis?
Around, and there ended up being 5 broken boards on this one wave. And after this wave, I paddled out, and it was me and one other guy that was on the right. He paddled towards the channel on the right and got out of the way. And we were the only 2 people left in the lineup. The other 13 surfers had got it caught inside and got washed in. So pretty crazy. Think what you want. I think the Lord was looking out for me. But I got that feeling. I paddled away from it out of danger. And then other people got caught. But as I've said before in this conversation, if you're going to pursue this sport, don't rely on luck or an innate feeling to get you out of a situation. You need to be serious about it. You need to train for it. You need to get the right equipment. And, you know, once you've taken the steps, you know, start at smaller waves, work your way up. Once you've done that, then by all means, you know, go for it, follow your dreams. Yeah, it's one of the most deadly and dangerous sports in the world. So, you know, if you have any thoughts of doing it, make sure you're prepared.
Curtis, so when you wear a vest now at Jaws, is that right? All the time or not all the time?
Yeah, no question, all the time. And for anybody that's pursuing this sport of big waves, I would say that you are a fool for not wearing one. You know, the best big wave riders in the world are the ones that came up with these vests. They work with different companies to come out with the safest equipment possible. So, you know, if they're wearing it, the best big wave riders in the world are wearing it, then you should be wearing it.
Yeah. Gary, can you unmute yourself again?
Yep.
So
Hi.
Gary was saying in the chat, he's seen many unprepared guys get in trouble.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So
as Curtis, you would know. People see the big conditions. Some have dreamed about it. Some just think, "Oh, this is a good go," and out they go, totally unprepared, and they have no idea what they're getting into. And I guess, if I'm honest, I was a bit like that in the earlier times as well, not really fully understanding the implications of paddling out into the big stuff. But we get through it and we learn to prepare ourselves properly. But I've seen a lot of guys get into trouble. I totally endorse your feelings about wearing a vest. Unfortunately, when I was surfing the big waves, the vest hadn't been invented then, and we had some fun times under the water. I remember one of the best bits of advice I was given. I used to do some surfing with Titus over, Titus from Kauai.
Titus. I've met him once.
And he gave me some advice once when we were at Waimea. He said, "Look, Waimea, as you know, Waimea is a pretty deep break, and so you can get pushed down pretty deep, and a lot of guys get into trouble because you're tossed around and you don't know which way is up, and it's just black down there, and so he said, look, Gary, when you push really far down, he said, just calm yourself down, wait for the next wave, and that's when you can sense which is up. And so when you sense the wave breaking, the next wave breaking on top of you, you head in that direction, because and so basically that's what we had to do, because vests weren't on us, so we couldn't float automatically in the right direction. And so the invention of vests was a great thing, and is a great thing, and saves many lives today, I'm sure. And so yeah, wear those vests.
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, if you're serious about getting into this sport, get a vest. You can find them online for $350. And it could save your life. It saved my life a couple times. It saved my buddy's life a couple times. But I will say, you don't want to get to the point where you're relying on the vest. No. So before you pursue big waves, you want to train. You want to get yourself physically and mentally ready for anything the ocean can throw at you, because who knows, the vest could fail. It's happened to friends of mine in big waves. So make sure you're prepared. But if you are going to pursue this sport, I am 100% behind the inflation vest. Yeah, but
one of the things.
Don't make it a crutch. You know, be ready for what you're getting yourself into.
I remember back when they were developing these things, one of the big problems that we were having with the vests were they'd get sucked over your head sometimes. They weren't secured properly, and so basically they could get you in real strife by restricting your arms and getting sucked over your head. But they've sorted most of that out now, which is good.
Yeah, most of it. I've still heard of it happening to friends of mine. So, you know, be prepared.
I'll tell you another tip. Another tip which I learnt the hard way was even on a small day, you've got to be prepared. I remember one time surfing out at sunset. We were on 15-foot sets coming through regularly. And then a couple of days later, it was only about 6 foot. And that's when I got into trouble. I was, survived the 15-foot day, but a board hit me in the head and I was actually knocked out in 6-foot surf. And luckily I had a guy who I knew picked me up and got me into shore okay. But, you know, when you're in the ocean, it doesn't matter what size the swell is. And even on a 6-foot day, which we would call small, you can still get yourself in strife. So you've got to be on your toes all the time. Yeah,
you know, and I agree with you, Gary. Probably the scariest situation I've ever been in Hawaii actually happened on the South Shore of Maui during the summer. And, you know, what in Hawaii standards would be smaller waves, you know. It was a big swell for the South Shore, probably in the 10 to 15 foot range, but you know, in waves I've been in the big shore, they didn't even compare. But yeah, I got caught inside and a wave pushed me down. I ended up headbutting a rock and almost blacking out. And I ended up having to have 5 stitches in my face right here and 5 stitches in my foot where I cut an artery in my foot. So, and it wasn't even that big, you know, like you're saying. So, yeah, just whenever you're surfing, just be prepared. You know, it's an incredible experience. I think it's one of the best experiences you can have on this earth. But, you know, be prepared and, yeah, you know, because the ocean's a powerful force. But it's definitely a fun force, you know, that it's one of the most awesome forces in the earth. So I encourage everybody to take part in it and have fun while you're doing it, but you know, be safe while you're doing it.
Well, thank you so much, Curtis. I think maybe we'll leave it there, but I gather that everyone enjoyed it. I can kind of tell by the vibe that everyone loved it, and I think there's just so much to talk about and so many stories to tell that yeah, we might have to do another one of these to be continued.
Yeah, well, I know we're in tough times, but you know, everybody keep your head up. We'll all get through it. You know, just my advice is to try to come out of it better than you were before. You know, whether that's, you know, with your artwork, you know, practice your artwork or your music or physical fitness. You know, use the downtime to, you know, to make yourself a better person. So keep following your dreams and, yeah, help each other along the way.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Curtis. And thank you so much, everyone, for coming and all for your stories as well, Gary. It was really great. Such a good session. And there will be a recording of this. I've never recorded something like this before, but apparently I'm recording it. So, yeah, and hopefully we can do another one. I'd love to. I think it was great. So good. I love listening. Thank you, guys. Bye.
Thank you. Thanks.
Bye, guys. Take care.
Bye.